These are the jobs you may not see every day, but just know we're working hard to make Hillsborough County a better place to live, work, and play. Subscribe to our YouTube page for more great county-related videos, only on HTV.
Welcome to a meeting of your Planning Commission, the official local planning agency for the cities of Tampa, Temple Terrace, Plant City, and unincorporated Hillsborough County. The Planning Commission provides innovative leadership and long-range vision that contributes to the creation of a thriving, prosperous community that offers opportunity, fairness, and choice in how we live, move, learn, work, and play. For more information about the Planning Commission, please call 813-272-5940. Follow us on social media or visit our website at planhillsborough.org.
Good evening and welcome everyone to the April 11th, 2022 public hearing of the Planning Commission on the City of Tampa redistricting. We thank you for attending this meeting. Your comments and participation are encouraged. To minimize feedback in the audio, all participants in the meeting will be muted until it is their opportunity to speak. Planning commissioners should raise their hand or unmute themselves and turn on their camera to indicate that they would like to speak. Please be sure to state your name at the beginning of your remarks for the benefit of the clerk. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments. When your name is called, you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. Please wait until the chair calls on you to begin speaking. State your name at the beginning of your comments and adhere to the time limits. If anyone has difficulties or is watching via HTV and would like to provide comments to be included in the record for local government hearing, please email them to planner@plancom.org. That's planner@plancom.org. For those of you who are not familiar with our process, the meeting will be conducted as follows. The agenda item will be introduced. Staff will give their presentation with a 15-minute time limit. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation with a 15-minute time limit. Following presentations, members of the public may address the Planning Commission when recognized by the chairman. Public comment will be heard for 3 minutes per person. The applicant will be afforded a 3-minute period for rebuttal or response. Planning commissioners will then ask questions. Public comment will be closed. Then upon a motion, a second, and discussion, a vote will be taken. With that, I'd like to ask the clerk to please go ahead and call roll.
Good evening, Commissioners. Bernstein?
Here.
Plaza? Cardenas?
Here.
Fernandez?
Here.
Handy? Kress?
Here.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Here.
Thank you. Lauk?
Here.
Powell?
Here.
Kamen? Rodriguez?
Here.
Joseph?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, our first item of business is action item 2A, City of Tampa redistricting. The presenter is Yasir Gonzalez.
Yes, indeed. Good evening. This is Yasir Gonzalez, Planning Commission staff. This is an action item. Today is we're hoping to be the final public hearing on the City of Tampa Council redistricting for 2023 elections. Some of you that have been around for a while may recall back in 2018 when we did a similar exercise where we approved new boundaries for the 2019 elections. So every time before municipal elections, we come in there, we take a look at the boundaries, and we make recommendations if necessary. So this is So why are we doing this? Once again, it's something that's required by the laws of Florida, also required by the City of Tampa Charter. Every 4 years we do it, so that's why, as you see, there's some many minor changes because we only do it, we do it so often. This is one of the items in which your approval is final. There is no review. Whatever you decide today, that's it. And what we're doing is, our goal is always for the population of each of the 4 single-member districts to be as equal as possible. So staff, back in October, we came in before you where we show you 4 alternatives. What we needed to do was reduce the difference between the most populous and least populous district to less than 5%. And this no retrogression is a word that's not common. What does that mean is, what it means is that for historically marginalized groups, we are trying for them not to lose any power in terms of like, within the individual districts. So, and you'll see, we'll go into more detail. So these are the status quo, or what's happening now, 5.6%. Again, we think that's high, so we're trying to lower that. Every alternative presented is less than 5%. So that's what happened. So these are recommendations. Alternative 2. Why are we recommending Alternative 2 to you today? First of all, has the lowest range, 3.2. Remember, 5.6, we want to go lower, so 3.2. Only a couple precincts are moving. Again, because we do this so often, and because we take a conservative approach, we're not moving a lot of districts, and we're not impacting a lot of people. For the average voter, over 90% of them, nothing will change. So for Alternative 2, voting precinct 318 will be moving from District 5 to District 6, and 338 will be moving from District 7 to District 5. And as I'll show you in the next slide, this option, this alternative 2, yields the highest number of African Americans and Hispanic voters for District 5 and 6, respectively. Again, a lot of numbers. This is a statistical exercise, therefore there will be a ton of numbers. Some of you will be comfortable with it, some of you not. But the two numbers we've highlighted for your convenience. Again, notice that District 5, the percentage of African American voters is over 50%, so we're maintaining that. And for District 6, Hispanic voters have been around 25%. We are maintaining that as well. Every time we do this, we go into a comprehensive outreach exercise. And every time we implement some innovations. This one, for example, we have a full-blown Spanish website that we deployed. We emailed over 2,000 registered voters that were affected. We didn't want to go out there and raise alarms. There were other efforts going on. So we only was very targeted effort using email addresses that were available via the Supervisor of Elections website. And we hosted 4 open houses, same as last time, and they were hosted in schools and public libraries, which again, we'd like to thank the school district and library services for facilitating. And they were very close to or at the precincts, the voting precincts that we're gonna be moving. These were on weekday evenings, and we tried to alternate a Thursday evening, a Tuesday evening, etc. Also, again, in the interest of innovation, and also in keeping up with the COVID times, if you will, there were 2 virtual open houses. So we were there bright and early on Saturdays, waiting for people to sign up and trying to talk to them about this. They went on to similar presentation to this one. Again, we cannot thank our partners, and we have Mr. Latimer in the room, which we're going to introduce, and hopefully we'll give a few remarks later after my presentation. But the Supervisor of Relations staff was on hand answering voting questions. There were a couple registrations or more there. We also have press releases and newspaper advertisements. Again, our partners, if you haven't had a chance to go to one of our libraries in recent times, please do. It's really, they're amazing facilities, have amazing presentation facilities. They are part of the community, people know where they're at. So it's really just to say, it's at the library, people just go and show up, this is great. And so we'd like to thank library services, the public schools as well. We had, you gave an award recognition just earlier to Ms. Dickerson. Again, instrumental in getting us to the facilities and getting us to the right software that we needed to register and, being a liaison for the staff, just phenomenal. And again, the Supervisor of Relations Office that was there, that's them in the picture as well. We'd like to thank you for this opportunity. Again, we tried to compress this. This is the 3rd time you've seen their presentation at least. And that's why we tried to be very brief. And again, we've been out there, very comprehensive approach. Now, without further ado, of course, Mr. Latimer, Supervisor of Relations for Hillsborough County. Again, I moved recently to this county, and I cannot praise enough how they were smoothly able to transfer my registration here. I have also volunteered with the office, and again, the process of, getting me cleared up, getting me trained to volunteer as a voter, poll worker, that is, was just phenomenal as well. So again, this is, and again, he was there also one of the first workshops, he was also there again. So again, we had star power the first day. Without further ado, Mr. Latimer.
Thank you. Good evening to this absolutely distinguished commission. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I got to tell you, several of you know that I sit on national election boards, and I will tell you that I tout this process universally. If everyone would do the process like this is done, we'd be in great shape. If any of you have any pull at all in getting those congressional maps done, I'm still waiting on them. But I'm not waiting on the city of Tampa. But I just want to say, just a tremendous relationship that we have. Yasser Gonzalez has been just wonderful to work with. They respect our precinct lines, which is very important to us, and it just makes the process so much smoother and easier. And again, just because we do this every 4 years, it's minor movement for people. I could show you the maps I'm dealing with right now on the House, the Senate, the County Commission, and the school board, and I can tell you it's not as simple. And we've already added 50 precincts because they did not respect our precinct lines. So just, again, thank you very much, and just fully supportive of the staff here at the Planning Commission, and you all should be very proud of them and the work they do. Any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. If not, I'll sit down and we can move on. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation and the information. We did not have anybody sign up on public comment for this one, so I'm going to turn it over to the commissioners, and I see Commissioner Bernstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really just have a comment to make because we so rarely get an opportunity to say this to you in person, but thank you from the bottom of our hearts for the wonderful job you and all your staff do. We're awfully proud, I know I am, and I think I speak for a lot of people, of the work that you do and the folks who report to you. So thank you for all the effort. Couldn't be more appreciated.
Yes, Commissioner Cardenas.
You know, I was going to say through Backstage Pass, I got a chance to take a tour. And you think of like Fort Knox or something like that, or like that is what it's like. It's impressive how good they are, and just the whole setup is very cool. So, you know, when people talk about elections and all this stuff, it's always such a stir up. But being there, it's just clear, yeah, this is right on. Thank you so much.
Any comments? I did want to say I was here the last time we did this, and you weren't. But you have done an excellent job. You were, but you have done an excellent job picking up for the gentleman who was doing this before. I was concerned in the transition because the person who did it before gave this board such a comfortable feel in handling things, and you've gone above and beyond that. You've done an excellent job with this. So I just wanted to commend you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Terry Egan was really excellent. So again, big shoes to fill, and I was happy to be able to step up.
Good job. All right. Any more comments from the commissioners? Now we'll go on ahead and close the public comment at this time and open it up to motions from the commissioners on this item. Commissioner Bernstein.
At this time, Mr. Chair, I would move that we adopt the resolution as it appears in our packet to approve the 2022 City of Tampa districting proposal containing a recommendation for alternative 2. I would just want to say for the record that if we approve this motion, that we probably should ensure that the date of the resolution conforms to today's date, which is the 11th, as opposed to the 4th of April.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve and adopt by Commissioner Bernstein, a second to that motion by Commissioner Powell with a note on the date that Ms. Sornita is writing now. Is there any more discussion from the commissioners on this item? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Cardenas?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes.
Loke?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you for the information. And on to our next item, which is no item. That is the end of that one. So I will adjourn the City of Tampa redistricting public hearing on that note, and we will take it over to our Hillsborough County public hearing, and I will read us into that one. If you'll bear with me. Thank you, Mr. Latimer, for being here. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 11th, 2022 public hearing of Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan Amendments. We thank you for attending this meeting. Your comments and participation are encouraged. To minimize feedback in the audio, all participants in the meeting will be muted until it is their opportunity to speak. Planning commissioners should raise their hand or unmute themselves and turn on their camera to indicate that they would like to speak. Please be sure to state your name at the beginning of your remarks for the benefit of the clerk. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments. When your name is called, you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. Please wait until the chair calls on you to begin speaking. State your name at the beginning of your comments and adhere to the time limits. If anyone has difficulties or is watching via HTV and would like to provide comments to be included in the record for local government hearing, please email them to planner@plancom.org. That's planner@plancom.org. For those of you who are not familiar with our process, the meeting will be conducted as follows. The agenda item will be introduced. Staff will give their presentation with a 15-minute time limit. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation with a 15-minute time limit. Following presentations, members of the public may address the Planning Commission when recognized by the chairman. Public comment will be heard for 3 minutes per person. The applicant will be afforded a 3-minute period for rebuttal or response. Planning commissioners will then ask questions. Public comment will be closed, and upon a motion, a second, and discussion, a vote will be taken. With that, I'd like to ask the clerk to please go ahead and call roll.
Good evening, Commissioners. Bernstein,
Here.
Plaza, Cardenas,
Here.
Hernandez,
Here.
Handy, Kress,
Here.
Lauk,
Here.
Powell,
Here.
Kamen, Rodriguez,
Here.
Joseph.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Our first item is 2A, HCCPA 2121, Comprehensive Plan Text Amendment, Energy Industrial Park, and the presenter is Melissa Leinhardt.
I do apologize. I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself. Good evening. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not in my slideshow. There we go.
There you go.
All right, good evening. Sorry about that technical difficulty. Melissa Leinhardt with your Planning Commission staff. I'm here tonight to present to you unincorporated Hillsborough County's Comprehensive Plan Text Amendment 21-21. Are you seeing my full screen or are you seeing the embedded screen within a screen?
We are seeing your full screen.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because that's how it looks on my end. The subject site is located in the eastern portion of Hillsborough County. The site is located south of State Road 60 between Dover Road and Turkey Creek Road. And the site is not located within the limits of a community plan. I should also mention that while this is a text amendment, the text does apply to only one specific area in Hillsborough County, and I'll show some maps moving forward. So again, while you see some maps in this presentation to show where the text applies, but ultimately the request today is only a text amendment, and the future land use map will not be changing with this request. This is a privately initiated amendment, and this is a text amendment to language that's currently adopted under the Energy Industrial Park section in the future land use element of the comprehensive plan. The subject site is approximately 2,978 acres, and the request is to modify existing language in the EIP section or Energy Industrial Park section of the future land use element regarding the output of alternative energy that's required on site, as well as change language regarding the perimeter buffering and screening of the site. So in this slide, you'll see an aerial of the subject site, which is highlighted in blue. You can see Dover Road here as the western border, and then we have State Road 60 to the north, and then Turkey Creek is the eastern border here on this side, and then down for orientation, here's Durant Road to the south. As you can see, there's also a 3CX CSX line that runs diagonally through the subject property. And there's also land here that's owned by TECO that runs from Turkey Creek down to Durant. It's outlined in red here on this aerial, and that is not part of the Energy Industrial Park area. The EIP future land use category and its associated objectives and policies were originally adopted specifically for certain vacant lands in eastern Hillsborough County, and that was in 2010. That was part of a privately initiated text amendment that created a future land use category and its associated policies. At the time of the text amendment, there was also a map amendment to the site to change the future land use category. The policies were written based on the topography of the site, as well as the energy producing technology that was available at the time. There was also a large public outreach effort in 2010. There we go. I have a couple slides of some site photos here. So again, this is a text amendment, but because the text applies to a certain subject area, I wanted to take some pictures and give everyone a little bit of context. So this is the site, this wooded area, and this is looking north on Dover Road. So the site would be to the right or to the east. And this is looking at the subject site from the opposite direction. So from Dover Road, but facing south, sort of southeast. And this vegetation here is all existing. And this is just sort of an example of what some of the berming and existing vegetation looks like. And this is the view of the site from the east side of the subject property, which is by Turkey Creek Road. So this is the first of two changes to the text to the EIP area. The applicant is proposing to delete the words preservation of, and then to add the phrase or similar visual features on the project perimeter with the intent to screen the project. The applicant's proposing the changes in order to provide some flexibility for future development while still attempting to maintain the integrity of the original requirement. And this requirement was put in place to address compatibility concerns of any future development in the Energy Industrial Park area. And that compatibility concern was mainly for the western and southern neighborhoods. The applicant asserts that the man-made perimeter berms were created decades ago and may not have the structural integrity that they once had. And the applicant is currently employing geotechnical experts to review the existing berms, but that report is not available as of yet. Though a memo was submitted to staff, and I do believe the applicant's representative tonight will be bringing that item up as well in his presentation. So that brings us to revision number 2. Currently, the adopted language reads that there needs to be 2 renewable energy producing facilities. And the proposed language modification would allow for 2 options. So either that there be the 2 renewable energy producing facilities in the language now, and that would be with the required production outputs that are included in the 2010 rezoning. But tonight they're asking for another option that they would be allowed to either do the 2 or that they would be able to allow to do 1 renewable energy producing facility with double the required production output. Again, that's listed in the 2010 rezoning. I should say on this slide here that some examples of renewable energies would include biomass to energy, solar, wind, aquaculture, municipal solid waste to energy, those types of things. And because this field is ever changing, other renewable and alternative energy technologies, policies that are found in the future land use element, specifically policy 16.1, which says that all neighborhoods should be protected by restricting incompatible land uses through the use of buffering and screening. And also policy 16.2, which emphasizes the use of professional site planning, buffering and screening techniques to help with gradual transitions of intensities between different land uses. And the request has also been found consistent with the 2 objectives and the various policies under the Energy Industrial Park section in the future land use element, namely Policy 59.1, which states that the energy industrial park area must consist of a mix of renewable alternative energy production and renewable alternative energy resource recovery and research type facilities with educational and employment uses to create a sustainable, viable economic base. And then lastly, the proposed text amendment has been found consistent with various environmental policies found in the environment and sustainability section of the comprehensive plan, such as policy 1.1.4, which promotes energy efficient and sustainable development practices. And then along with objective 1.2, which supports the development and use of alternative energy and fuel. This request is also consistent with objective 3.7 of the same section, which promotes projects and innovations that integrate the pillars of sustainability, which are natural resource protection, community health and well-being, and economic prosperity. And that brings us to staff's recommendation, which is to recommend that the proposed text amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County. And I also wanted to mention that a packet was emailed to you this afternoon with several comments from the surrounding neighbors and property owners. And in addition to that packet, there were some left up on the dais for you individually for the items that didn't make it in the email that was sent out about 1 o'clock this afternoon. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Does the applicant have a presentation?
Hey, good evening, commissioners. My name is Tyler Hudson, and my address is 400 North Ashley Drive. I'm counsel for the applicant. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Everything good to go?
Yep.
Okay. So Melissa did a great job summarizing everything, but there's a couple points of emphasis that I want to repeat. That I'm going to talk a little bit more about the rationale for the changes that we're seeking here. We're in East Hillsborough County. The project, this image you see on screen is actually from the PD zoning. So not only is this entire project in a single future land use category, it's also in a rezoning, subject to a rezoning site plan that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, and I think is a very important distinction here to really limit the scope of what we're talking about this evening. It's just about 3,000 acres, and no development has occurred since this was approved back in 2010, and it's really the passage of time that motivates the two changes that we're seeking, as I'll talk about now. Just to reiterate a little bit of what Melissa talked about, Energy Industrial Park is like Res 6 or OC 20, some of the future land use map element designations that this commission is very accustomed to seeing map changes for. I think you've got a handful of them after this presentation. What's a little bit unusual about, or actually what's very unusual about EIP is that it's extremely detailed in how it outlays development standards that are really repeated essentially in the rezoning. So what's different about EIP is that there is an element of redundancy in place, and that's one thing that we're trying to eliminate with these two changes. There's a range of objectives falling within the 58 through 60 numbering of the comprehensive plan that address this. So this project was very much entitled for something specific that did not come to pass, but that can. My client is one of the two property owners within this development area, but there have been some changes in renewable energy technology between 2010 and now, as well as some significant erosion along some of the berms on the southern and western perimeters of the site that provoke the amendment that's before you this evening. Again, we're asking for really two changes. One addresses what I call the dual source output requirement. The comp plan language now and the implementing PD rezoning that was approved simultaneously in 2010 has a list of 5 or 6 renewable energy sources. And in the PD, there are stated output requirements for that. And the requirement is that 2 renewable energy producing facilities be created, CO'd, prior to the remainder of the development unfolding. What we're trying to do here is to say we can double one of those. And and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The second thing we're trying to do is to modify and create really some flexibility in how the buffering and screening requirement is going to be provided by the applicant. This is an enormous project. It is close to residential. That's why it has such significant buffering requirements. But with the use of the word preserve in them, this could accidentally require the maintenance of some fairly dangerous conditions. So on the energy output, again, this is a very, very specific set of language that for a comprehensive plan future land use category. It's the PD which enables this. The PD has the enabling language regarding the output requirements. As the last 12 years of really inaction on this site has shown, having two of these facilities is not something that the market can support. And candidly, some of the elements of renewable energy, some of the options, for example, biomass, could create more opposition amongst the neighbors. So what we're trying to do here is allow an alternative way to comply with this requirement by doubling the output of any single one of these to satisfy the energy production requirement. The second change, which I think motivated some of the trepidation amongst the neighbors, regards as buffering and screening. So you can see on screen at the top the current language, and I've yellow highlighted what the proposed language is, which Melissa walked through. We want to remove the word preservation because the berms that are here, this is the old Sydney mine site. This is a mine reclamation project. The berms are 70 years old. They were used they're a result of digging out and excavating the earth to mine phosphate. And they were a fairly convenient natural barrier, a fence to keep folks out. Now as neighborhoods have unfolded in the vicinity, there's vegetation, persistent vegetation that's grown on these berms that has a screening effect. We're not in any way trying to recede from our need to buffer and screen. It's all still right here. We say what we're adding is that we can do buffering with similar visual features on the perimeter. And I would note that the parenthetical there at the very end that talks about requirements or modifications by applicable reviewing agencies, that's unchanged. And it's possible that even without this change that we're seeking tonight, an applicable reviewing agency could find these berms in certain areas problematic. But there's a tone of some of the neighbor notes that we're getting rid of the berms. That's not true. We are trying to have some flexibility about what constitutes buffering and screening beyond just the existing berms. Here, these pictures are a little on the dark side. What you can see here, there is some exposed tree roots. You can see on the right sort of how high up that tree is. We have a short memo in the record from a licensed civil engineer who has gone out. They are preparing a report. It's their belief, and I'll let the engineer's words speak for themselves, that they pose a health and safety risk, that there is a risk that with enough of a storm that the trees could fall down. There's some danger with keeping all of them in the way they're currently sited. That's why we're seeking this change today. We still preserve buffering. Melissa has a kind of similar picture actually in her presentation. There's really essentially a tree wall all along South Dover Road, and that provides a screening that difficult to see. That on the one side you have Energy Park to the left that's looking east. But if you were to turn to street view, you'd barely be able to see that there's a fairly dense residential neighborhood just to the east, to the west, sorry. So we understand the need for buffering. We're not in any way eschewing the need for buffering. We're just trying to have flexibility that maintaining an existing hazardous condition isn't the only way that we can provide it. I want to talk a little bit about comprehensive plan versus zoning, not so much for the commissioners. I know you all are well-versed in this, probably more well-versed than you'd like to be. But for folks who are perhaps watching this who are concerned. So a comprehensive plan language is implemented through zoning. Zoning's got to be consistent downstream with the comprehensive plan. That's not Hillsborough County, that's state of Florida law. These EIP, this Energy Industrial Park Comp Plan policy, is implemented through a 2010 PD site plan that has not been modified and is still in effect. Its changes to that rezoning PD site plan is where the where details may change, where there are going to be actually specific things showing what is approved now and what is to come. What we're doing this evening is getting some redundant and overly and unduly restrictive language out of the comp plan because it's more appropriately in the rezoning, and it already is in the rezoning. For example, on the question of berms, the PD site plan that is in effect right now, in which a theoretical developer would have to go pull permits in compliance with, has on the site plan the preservation of the existing berms. In the conditions of approval, likewise, there's a requirement to preserve the existing berms. The property owner and a future developer is probably going to seek to change some of that in certain areas, but that's going to come later through a different procedure that's going to go before the county commission with ample public hearings and public notice. So by recommending a consistency this evening and by the county commission adopting this text amendment, hopefully in a matter of weeks, the berm requirement is still in place in the zoning. I think that's a really important thing to stress in terms of really what are the stakes tonight. They're relatively minimal tonight. I would note, I want to thank Melissa for working with the team. We've had a lot of back and forth. This amendment has gone on a fairly significant diet over the months and weeks that we've been working on this. We are now proposing a really limited number of changes, far fewer than were originally proposed, and we're very proud that staff your expert staff of the Planning Commission has recommended consistency here. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. We have a few people sign up for public comment on this one. Some of these look like they might be part of the applicant, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure to run through the list anyway, just to be sure. First person we have sign up for this one, 21-21, is George Neiman. Is George Neiman on the line?
Yes, I am.
Please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Staff and citizens, this is George Neiman. I'm going to speak to you about CPA 2121. I happen to live next door to the Energy Industrial Park in the Silverwood subdivision on South Road. I joined with other members of Fixed Hillsborough County Neighborhood Coalition, and we talked with many in our community, and everyone we spoke with, they're against these changes. I imagine you've already gotten a lot of emails in opposition. This amendment, there's a problem with the removal of the berms as well as the reduction in the requirement to build no less than 2 renewable energies. This amendment raises issues of both compatibility and environmental impacts. They provide the best screening in terms of noise, light, smell, and the sight of future energy plants. There's an abundance of wildlife that are in and around these berms, such as American eagles, Florida panthers, sandhill cranes, gopher tortoises, just to name a few. The berms also provide excellent protection for adjacent homes during major storms, but their removal will devalue adjacent properties. The berms need to remain in place no matter what. The applicant submitted a report from an engineer they hired to suggest that the berms might be unstable. There are miles of berms on this huge property. We question whether this letter is based on significant study. Maybe more should be required than just a one-page statement by an applicant's fee-based expert. Originally, the county bent backwards and made many concessions to make the EIP viable because its citizens were going to receive no less than 2 renewable energy sources to improve our environment. The citizens of Hillsborough deserve to have the 2 energies that we were promised for all the concessions we made. We understand that the applicant told the staff that they want these changes to make it easier to sell the property. Is it the county's job to change its plan just to help a landowner sell their property? I certainly hope not. I urge you to reject this amendment. It is incompatible, physically and financially detrimental to adjacent homeowners, harmful to protected species of resident wildlife, and will allow the applicant to escape providing the long-awaited benefit of no less than 2 renewable energy sources solely for financial reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neiman. All right, next up on our list for public comment sign up, we have Eric Wagner. Is Eric Wagner on the line?
Hi, good evening. This is Eric Wagner.
Yes, please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you for letting me speak. I know I don't have much time, so I'll make this as brief as possible. As I said, my name is Eric Wagner. I'm certified as an advanced Florida master naturalist through the University of Florida's Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences. I'm also currently pursuing a degree in environmental science with a focus on sustainability. As recently as October 2020, Gopher polyphemus, commonly known as the Gopher Tortoise, was observed in the area south of the railroad tracks, east of Dover Road, and north of Durant Road. This observation was reported, and the accompanying picture, complete with geo-coordinates, was uploaded to iNaturalist, a joint initiative by the California Academy of Sciences and the National Geographic Society, currently used by 2.5 million people worldwide. As a result of the sighting, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission included the information in 2 projects, including one that specifically tracks the sightings of federally threatened and endangered species. A quick explanation of this protected tortoise. Gopher polyphemus can live up to 40 to 60 years in the wild, and its life revolves around its burrow or its home. It'll dig deep burrows for shelter and forage on low-growing plants. The interesting thing about this is the Gopher tortoise burrow is commensal, which means it shares its burrow with more than 350 other species, and is therefore referred to as a keystone species, meaning its extension would result in measurable changes to the ecosystem in which it occurs. The area which we're currently discussing is a prime ecosystem for the Gopher tortoise, and through commensalism, possibly hundreds of other species. I believe as Mr. Hudson earlier stated, the berms are, quote, no longer providing any needed function. I respectfully disagree. To develop this area specifically to remove and replace the berm on the west side of the proposed development, that Dover Road side, could cause irreparable damage to this ecosystem. In Florida, the Gopher tortoise is listed as threatened. Per the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, both the tortoise and its burrow are protected under state law. Gopher tortoises must be relocated before any land clearing or development takes place, and property owners must obtain permits from FWC before capturing and relocating tortoises. I would just like everyone involved to be aware of this information and perhaps research this and other potential environmental impacts before continuing with this proposal. I also want to thank George Neiman for bringing up a lot of the similar issues. That's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Wagner. All right, next up, we have Tyler Hudson. I see on the list here. No comments? All right. We're going to move on to Isabelle Albert.
Isabel's with the project team, and I think can't make it. So both she and Bruce Kaishek are registered, but you don't need to on that. Thank you.
All right. Those were the last individuals that we had sign up for the public comment at this time. So I will turn it back over to the applicant for a rebuttal period, 3 minutes.
Good evening, again, commissioners. Thank you. I really want to hit 2 items in the rebuttal. The first, I'll start backwards. With respect to what Mr. Wagner said, a lot of things that are true, particularly when regarding protection of gopher tortoises. There's an abundance of state and in some cases federal regulations that protect them. And that's an issue with developments all around this area. So the question is, do you not advance a fairly surgical, common sense amendment to this future land use category of the comprehensive plan to advance what really other laws protect more adequately? So I don't really think that's a reason to oppose this. And then I'd like to, something that Mr. Neiman said really jumped out, this notion of getting the 2 energy uses that were promised. Things change, times change, and this project that was so specifically entitled for a project that just didn't happen in what was still a pretty recent memory of the recession, and the fact that nothing has happened here, I think is really what bears the urgency of advancing this modification, because it allows for flexibility in 2 incredibly important ways. It does not eliminate the berms. What it says is that it's not just the existing vegetation that can serve as the necessary buffering and screening. It's also something that would be very similar. And I don't think anyone would approve a project that shows a 6-foot masonry wall when there's currently an entire tree wall of mature trees. This simply provides flexibility for providing something that we know the neighbors want and which the landowner wants as well. And on the energy production, again, this project was very specifically entitled for renewable energy types and in amounts that are probably not appropriate to have in a comprehensive plan document. And there's simply a need to have some flexibility in the amount, in the types of energy, of renewable energy output facilities that are on the site. And so this will allow a potential developer to produce a single, perhaps less intensive renewable energy production facility rather than having to provide two, one of which might have far greater externalities than the neighborhood would want. So I really appreciate your time this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, but hope that this commission can find the support to advance this to the county commission with a vote of consistency. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll turn it over to our commissioners now for questions and discussion. Yes, Commissioner Bernstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got a number of questions, and they go to revision 1, and I think maybe for illustrative purposes, it might be helpful if we could turn to Ms. Leinart's presentation, if that could be presented to us. I think Mr. Hudson also offered that up, but her version was a more pure depiction of the attempted revision. That's the first of those. So could that be presented to us? It'd be easier for me to ask the questions. And I'll
It
wait.
should be up now. Are you seeing it?
Not yet.
We see the presentation, but not the slide with the language on it.
Okay, thank you.
And if you can just go ahead and make that full screen.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Sure.
Look at slide number 10. Yeah, thank you. So
You're welcome.
Some of these questions might be more appropriate for Ms. Leinhart, but Mr. Hudson, I would invite you to comment too. Maybe it's the lawyer in me, but I think I would argue words do matter, and the words that are coming out also matter to some extent. And this is a text amendment. So when I look at this, the first thing I see is that there's the deletion of the term preservation of, but this is a two-part proposal, and in part 1, there's a desire to leave the term existing vegetation intact. And yet, if I heard you right, Mr. Hudson, there is a dangerous condition that exists with regard to the existing vegetation, specifically the berm. And if I heard it right, had something to do vaguely with phosphate, perhaps that was preserved either in the root system or in the plants themselves. So I guess my first question is, if it's your contention that the berms themselves are dangerous, why is there a desire to maintain the existing vegetation at all?
So let me unpack that. Regarding phosphate, phosphate is the reason these berms exist, because to excavate the earth that's required to get to the phosphate, that excavated earth is what became the berms. I'm not aware of any facts out there about there being phosphate in the berms or any type of contamination. What has happened over time, the berms are about 70 years old because that's when the mining occurred. And in portions of the berms, there's significant soil erosion that has, again, occurred just with the passage of time. And that soil erosion has made the berm, certain portions of the berms unstable. And there's a concern that the berms could fail in certain parts, that the trees that are not well rooted due to the erosion could come down and cause issues. It's not like the berm is a large concrete wall that's decrepit in all respects. The erosion is not uniform throughout, but the erosion is the issue that our engineer discovered in the on-site visits that he's done.
So taking that a step further then, if the proposal is to delete the terms preservation of, and we're still in option 1 of 2 on this revision, is the proposal basically to say that if you choose to, you can include the existing vegetation, but there's no corresponding obligation to preserve it? In other words, it would just die on its own if you opted for alternative 1 within this revision? Otherwise, and I ask that because otherwise I ask myself, what's the point of having it in there at all? What's the difference between preserving existing vegetation and including it?
I think that the language now is language of obligation, and it's language of obligation that uses the word preserve, and not all of the existing vegetation can be preserved. We believe there is some existing vegetation that can be, but not all of it. And by having the word preservation in there in this comp plan, and again, I think a lot of this language is buffering and screening. There's no other comprehensive plan future land use element, I believe, that has this level of detail about buffering and screening. That's what zoning is for. And that's why there's already that level of detail in the zoning that's still applicable today. The goal here is to create an alternative way to provide buffering and screening by providing, quote, similar visual features on the project perimeter. That's the goal of this revision 1.
And I appreciate you saying it, because the whole time I was hearing that, I thought to myself, and maybe you're just constrained by the language, but isn't the whole point of this really to allow for option 2? I mean, it sure seems to me like the expedient mode, if your motion is granted, is to move toward erecting what this refers to as similar visual features. And if that's true, it begs other questions. What is a similar feature? And beyond that, what does it mean to be a visual feature? Because when I see the word visual, I don't want to take it to its logical extreme, but one could argue that you would just paint a picture of a berm, mount it in front of the berm you're removing, and that would be a similar visual feature. I mean, I don't mean to be crass, but is that one interpretation of this?
I don't think that's not a reasonable interpretation. The reason why we want to keep the language about existing vegetation is because we may want to use some of the existing vegetation. And by eliminating the phrase existing vegetation and topographic features, that would more closely correspond to the change that the neighborhood seems to be concerned about. But the changes that the neighborhood seems concerned about bear really no relation to what we're actually proposing, which is an alternative way to provide buffering and screening that includes existing vegetation, but also similar visual features. I guess if the question is whether, a hologram or something like that would suffice, I think based on the passion of this neighborhood, the answer is probably no. I think that would have a limited probability of success before the county commission. So things, as Commissioner Bernstein, you're an attorney, I'm an attorney, there are always opportunities to put the English language in service of what you want through better words if you have more time. This was what we think is a very reasonable, common sense way to memorialize what we'd like to do.
And then maybe, I appreciate that. And then maybe the last question then is, do you see the use of the term "or" there that separates these two as suggesting these are mutually exclusive, or is the intent here that you could opt from a little column A and a little column B, so to speak, so that you're doing a little both at the same time?
Yeah, the idea is that's both. I was a philosophy major, and so I'm happy to talk about the law of excluded middle and things like that would bore folks to eternity. But the goal is that from this set of potential implementation means, existing vegetation and topographic features, or some simulacrum of them, that is what is required in the PD zoning, which of course would have to change, because right now the PD zoning that implements this language, or the language I'm proposing, or the language that exists today, the language in the PD requires the berms. And I think that's something that's very important to note.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'll hold off on any of my personal editorializing and invite other commissioners to weigh in, but I would only say that, you're right, words are subject to construction, but ultimately words are all we have here. And we do have some citizens that have raised some concerns about how those words might be used to alter the characteristics and landscape and their impact on surrounding wildlife. So I just think we need to bear that in mind.
Thank you, Commissioner Bernstein. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Some great questions from my fellow commissioner. I have some similar questions, probably best answered by Mr. Hudson. The slide that you had earlier, I'm just trying to get a visual picture for myself because I'm not familiar with how it's laid out. Is the site right now, you have trees that are along the street, and then you have the berm, and then you have vegetation either on or on top of the berm? Is that the current configuration?
Yeah, so there's, if you can give me 1 second, I can actually show you. The trees are growing out of either side of the berm. I actually have a really great image of that if you'll give me 1 second. And this gives a sense of the size of the berms as well. Yeah, this is from the, can you see the screen?
Yes.
This is from the engineering report summary that has been put into the record. So, in this particular location, the crest of the berm is 20 feet wide. And the trees are, and that's the crest, that's not the entire berm. And the trees are growing on either side. This might allow for some, again, these are not my words, my pictures. These are the engineering expert that we've retained. Going to go through these. This one was in my PowerPoint, albeit at a much lower resolution. And I think these give a sense of sort of the height of some of these berms. I'll kind of scroll through the rest.
Okay, so I guess what I'm thinking of then is, and what I have picture in my mind is what is there. So the berm itself is rather high. It's higher than the ground below, correct?
Right, correct, yes.
Okay, so if the language that's been proposed here now, and you start removing, some of that vegetation, it would seem that then, there would be openings, potentially like in the berm.
If this is approved and the rezoning is changed, I think that's really important here, that with the rezoning still requires the berms. I think if I don't want to be presumptuous, but if the concern is that there could be gaps occurring because as a result of removing perhaps dangerous trees or portions of the berm that are destabilized, then I think that would be a code enforcement complaint waiting to happen because it wouldn't meet the screening requirement that's in the PD, whether the PD requirement now or however it's modified, because there's no way that if we're working backwards and we're attending the ribbon cutting for a project that's finally developed here after all this time, the PD rezoning that enabled the permits to get pulled is going to have substantial buffering and screening requirements. I mean, right now it's 200 feet, which is enormous because it's such a large piece of land. Right now, the PD rezoning says existing berms. I think I would recommend to any person who tries to rezone this piece of property that there are very specific standards in the zoning that show exactly what that buffering would be. But the more global point behind this amendment is that the comp plan isn't the place for that specific level of detail.
Well, and maybe we can agree to disagree on that one, but I have this vision, and I think I sort of understand what some of the neighbors are having a concern for now, because I did not fully understand what how the height of the berm is, but I think that the citizens are concerned with being able to the visual impacts, and I don't know if you start removing trees, either on the side or on the top of a berm, how you would actually recreate similar visual features. I mean, an oak tree only grows so tall, and if it's on top of a 20-foot berm, I'm not sure what type of tree you can plant at the base in a safe enough area that's going to provide the same visual feature without really something that my fellow commissioner sort of alluded to. although I don't think he was thinking about holograms. But the one of the other slides that you brought up somewhere, and I'm not sure if it was you or if it was staff, that said that the berms are currently, they have to be maintained, right?
That's correct. The rezoning, that's right. In two places in the rezoning, the PD site plan that implements this current formulation of the EIP category, there's a requirement that the existing berms be preserved. So that would have to change for anyone to actually remove the berms.
So if there's language in there that says that the berms have to be preserved, why haven't they been? How do we get to this problem now?
I'm not sure I follow your question. Are you saying why are we proposing this?
Well, I mean, it sounds like to me from the visuals that I've seen and just the brief summary that like the berm hasn't been preserved. And there's current language and that states that it's supposed to be, having been preserved. So what I'm concerned about is that they haven't been preserved, and now somehow, some way, whether it's through this engineering report or whatever, it's been discovered that, hey, there's a problem, and, the berms and the vegetation haven't been, maintained, and maybe it's become costly, to now kind of come along now and start, that preservation work or that maintaining work. And it's a problem that, has been created over time, and it could have been addressed, 20, 30 years ago.
Sure, yeah, I can address that. So the PD isn't active. The PD was approved, but no one has pulled any permits on it. So that existing, the preservation requirement is waiting for implementation and assumption by someone who goes to develop the property in accordance with the current requirements. But it's like an inchoate. This PD has not been activated. It's lying dormant since 2010.
To me, it just seems like we know that there's a problem that's existed, and we're trying to remove some language so that obviates the owner from having to do what they need to do. So I'll listen to some of my other commissioners, but some of this I can support, some of it I just don't feel like I can, though.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. I did have a question for Ms. Leinhardt. Could you go over staff's the policies that you found as germane to the approval consistency finding?
I sure can. Would you like me to show the PowerPoint slide so you can follow along?
Yes, please.
Okay. Just 1 second. Let me get back there real quick. Okay, are you seeing that now?
Yes.
Okay, so the policies that we pulled specifically, there's a inclusive list in the staff report and the backup, but the ones that we focused on for the point of this slide was kind of grouping them into 3 different areas. One being the neighborhood protection policies. So those are all the policies that are listed under Objective 16 in the future land use element. That essentially are those essentially are policies that talk about preserving the existing pattern of development and where uses aren't necessarily compatible or where they're not trying to protect those and mitigating for those through things like screening and buffering. Things like locational criteria for certain uses are included in some policies, though not applicable here. But these are the ones that I pulled about intensifying on collectors and arterials. And then 16.1, 2, and 3 include language about mitigating factors and including buffering and screening. And then the second group is specifically about the energy industrial park language. And just looking through that language, it's about renewable and alternative energy sources and production, and the way that that's outlined and the way that was written. We felt like the changes still supported that because they are still providing the option for the 2 energy facilities and energies, but they're also having, they also would like to add an option for just having 1, but with double the output. And that seemed to be consistent with the language in there. And then also the language about, neighborhood protection, which also balances the policies that I just mentioned. And then the third set were the environmental policies from the environment and sustainability section. And those talk about renewable energies and sustainable development.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any more comments or questions from the commissioners on this item? Let me check online to the WebEx and see, just to make sure no one's got their hands up or anything. No? Yes, Commissioner Kress?
Thank you. The flavor I heard from the citizen comments seemed to revolve around wildlife preservation and concerns about flooding. So I would just like to hear a few comments on both of those from the applicant. Thank you.
Sure. On wildlife preservation, there are a number of state regulations that govern that. Again, it's a little that the protection of the wildlife doesn't really change whether this is supported or not. It's our belief that by mandating that the existing vegetation remain precisely as it is now, that creates a destabilizing environment. That's not good. It's not good for the property owner who's making the application. It's not good for the neighbors. In regards to flooding, I think what the sense that I got from the letters was that if you remove all of the berms, that there's flood risk. And to be clear, we're not proposing the removal of government required buffering and screening. We're just providing an alternative way to do it that encompasses existing vegetation, but also new features that provide the same effect. But there's a limit to how much the comprehensive plan can regulate things like wildlife preservation and flood control. There are numerous other regulations that will bring to bear on that, regardless of whether this comp plan amendment is approved or not.
All right. Thank you for the response, Mr. Hudson. Are there any more comments or discussion? Yes, Commissioner Lauk.
Yeah, thank you. Question for staff. I think the report called out an extensive buffering and screening plan that would be required in the rezoning stage. So is staff comfortable that whatever screening, buffering that will be required in the rezoning plan will be comparable to what exists today? And is that appropriate to ask for?
Sure, I can attempt to answer that. My team and I would review any rezonings or modifications to any proposed, the existing 2010 rezoning when it comes in, and we would make a finding of consistent or inconsistent through that process. And so that's something I've talked to the applicant about, is that we would be looking at that language from the comprehensive plan, whether it is the currently adopted language or the proposed revisions for guidance during that process. And during the rezoning process, we're lucky to have a lot of information that we don't have at the comprehensive plan stage. So in my mind, we would be getting more information from the applicant. We would have that, hopefully that geotechnical report that could outline, which berms on the west, which berms on the south, would be, maybe more structurally sound than others. And we've also discussed, I actually had a call with several people that are on this WebEx call right now, the neighbors to the west and to the south last Thursday. And we discussed something like if, for instance, the applicant came in and wanted to build a very tall wall around the project, that's not on the table today, but just as an example, I told them that would likely not be the solution because it would be like a very hard exterior, and it wouldn't really soften the development from the edge or provide a nice edge for the neighbors that they have now. So I think our goal for a rezoning and our consistency review would be to look at the plan language that was adopted at the time and try to find the best scenario, the best way to implement that moving forward with the rezoning. But that's just difficult to answer the specifics about now with, no proposal on the table. We haven't spoken with any of the other agencies about any specifics since there's no specifics on the table. That would really come at the rezoning stage. And I understand, the difficulty for you all, for you, the commissioners, and then for the citizens not to have those details at this stage. But that really is the role of a comprehensive plan, to be very high level, to be very comprehensive and general in nature and long term. So we felt comfortable with the revised language. We felt that it struck a balance between, what is in there now and then trying to accomplish the same goals and having the same idea that they, potentially wouldn't have to preserve every single inch of the existing berms, which is how it's written now. But it'll provide some flexibility that with, 12 years later, since the original rezoning, that there might be some more flexibility and some more technology and some more options with how to deal with the buffering and screening, but knowing that the goal is to buffer and screen the project.
Do you feel like the preservation option will still be in there, or the requirement rather will still be applicable when it moves to the zoning process?
Well, it does say or, but I do agree with Mr. Hudson that I see that as sort of a stacking option. So it doesn't say exclusively that the buffering and screening or the existing berms that are there now would be retained during any kind of modification, but that I think we would all try to, it's almost like the greatest extent possible. Again, without those geotechnical reports and knowing what the structural situation is, it's hard to answer that. But I think that language gives an option for everyone to come up with sort of a collaborative solution that works for the neighbors, but that also provides some safety, because we don't want to have, an exterior of a project where you're building in the inside and have the perimeter unstable as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, Commissioner Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Has the engineer or has anybody looked at the effects of not preserving the berm on the flood zones? Because I'm looking at the flood zone now, and there is a zone A that lines right up with these berms. So if there's no requirement to preserve them, anybody done a study with newly available LiDAR or anything that will show any effects that the flood zone will expand, especially for what I'm looking at to the east, right into those neighborhoods on Dover Road?
I'm going to ask Bruce Kaishak. Bruce, if you're on, could you address that?
I will try. Bruce Kaishak, Half Associates, 1000 North Ashley. The part of the challenge is the floodplain maps are I don't want to say they're not up to date, but having said that, they are and fully reflective of what the site conditions are. But as of course we have to comply with the Swift Mud regulations and of course Hillsborough County's drainage regulations, and which of course takes in consideration the whole not having we can't cause off-site flooding, and that everything has to be addressed on site. So if the berms were to be removed, that has to be addressed during the permitting and the design of making sure we don't cause any additional off-site impacts.
Okay, it just looks to me that these were updated in 2008, so, post LiDAR, so I wouldn't be too worried about their accuracy. But it just seems to me that with almost the entire site within that Zone A, that some serious mitigation would have to be done to prevent anything spilling through or into the neighbors east and south. But thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fernandez. Yes.
If I could just add to answer your question, we did not, typically we receive comments from the county's hazard mitigation department, and they did not weigh in on this. They would weigh in at the zoning stage as those greater details are provided. But often if they have a concern about floodplains or something like that, they would give us comments, which they did not.
All right, were there any more? Yes, Commissioner Bernstein.
I guess one last closing thought, and I've tried over the years not to let the perfect be the enemy of the good in these meetings. I think it served me well for 3.5 years. At my advanced age, holograms are not a frame of reference I'm capable of conveying, but I did grow up watching the Roadrunner cartoon series, and I distinctly recall back in the day, and bear with me on this, that another character named Wile E. Coyote would often paint a tunnel out of essentially a rock, trying to dupe the roadrunner to run headfirst into it. And obviously that's an exaggeration, but it's done to make a point. I'm troubled with language in this that perhaps, in my view, could be improved with some careful thought, and query whether someday such a tunnel would constitute a similar visual feature for these purposes. I'm troubled a little bit by where this language might leave us years from now, despite some of the zoning safeguards that I agree should make us feel a little better about things. But I would add, too, that an or without an and is often deemed to be a mutually exclusive concept. And so I think we should hold ourselves to a higher standard sometimes when it comes to constructing sentences. And the way this is constructed, I think, leaves us vulnerable to any number of interpretations of this language years after, for all we know, this property has been sold more than once. So I would just urge us to take that into account before we pass judgment on the proposal in front of us.
I would just like to mention that the Planning Commission can, as part of your consistency finding, find consistent something with modifications. So if you wanted to propose an amendment to the language, such as adding an and, that would be appropriate.
And I also wanted to add that don't forget we're a recommending body that is passing this on to a body of elected officials. We could also just add our comments to it and have them hash these zoning things out and things that Mr. Robin would probably call beyond our purview. A lot of the discussions that we've been having these past couple minutes, and let the politicians do their job, right? And hash the things out at that level, because we could find this inconsistent, pass it on, and the people who really have the power to make those decisions could find it consistent and pass it right on and pass the whole thing, because they have purview into the actual knobs and wheels that need to be turned. So keep all that in mind as we move forward here, but we can make suggestions and modifications. We don't necessarily have to go one way or the other. So, or were there any more, I forget I'm the chair for a moment, were there any more comments or discussion on this item from any of the other commissioners? Going once, checking the WebEx, going twice. All right, in that case, I will go on ahead and close the public comment at this time and open it up to motions from the commissioners on this item. Anyone? Commissioner Bernstein?
I'm going to move that we approve the motion in front of us with one change to the language that appears in revision 1, and that is simply to insert an and a slash before the or as it appears between the terms existing vegetation and similar visual features.
All right, we have a consistency finding with a request for an addition of a slash and an and in the text.
I'll second Commissioner Kress.
All right, and a second to that motion by Commissioner Kress. Is there any more discussion from the commissioners on this? Sure, Commissioner Fernandez, you don't want to make them look at LiDAR? You can, you have that. All right. All right, seeing no more discussion, I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote at this time.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Cardenas?
Yes.
Fernandez?
No.
Kress?
Yes.
Lauk?
No.
Powell?
No.
Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carried 4-3 with Commissioners Fernandez, Lauk, and Powell voting no.
Thank you. All right. Where are we now? Okay, thank you for the information. On to our next item of business. 2B, HCCPA 22-02 Comprehensive Plan Text Amendment, Intergovernmental Coordination Section Update, and the presenter is Mark Hudson, who has been so patient.
Mark, you muted. There we go. Again, Mark Hudson, Planning Commission staff. It's great to be here this evening. Over the last 2 years, I've been making my presentations to you at this location without you here, and it was very lonely. And now I'm happy that we're all been reunited and we're working in that direction. I'm here this evening to discuss with you the update of the county's intergovernmental coordination section. And give you a little bit of background. This was a publicly initiated text amendment, and I apologize in advance that this presentation is text heavy by definition. This was last done in 2008, so as you imagine, there's a lot of references, dates, names that need to be updated, and we've gone through that process. The changes are included in your packet in a couple different forms. One is through the strike through underline form, so anything that's stricken through we're proposing to remove from this element, and anything underlined is new text that we're bringing forward. Also in the back of your packet we have policy crosswalks, so you can see the existing policy next to the proposed policy side by side to note the changes that are being proposed. So what is the purpose of this section? And generally it is to coordinate the activities and responsibilities of local governments and agencies and to accomplish the goals and the services that we are provided to do for our citizens. I was wondering if you might be able to move that box a little bit. Thank you. Some of my screen was obscured. To give you a little bit of idea of some of the things that we have been working on and give you a little summary, we updated and streamlined the introduction section, the inventory and analysis, and the future needs and alternatives. Now these are basically background portions of this section, and they're not being proposed to be adopted by the Board of County Commissioners, but they do set the tone and explain the goals, objectives, and policies that come later in this section. We made created several new policies and revised some others that deal how we evaluate the comprehensive plan and propose ways to implement the goals, objectives of that plan. We have also modified some policies related to how we review development impacts, particularly how we evaluate them when they are near or cross jurisdictional boundaries, particularly with the municipalities of Tampa, Plant City, and Temple Terrace. So thankful Lionel's right behind me. It's my biggest fear, the technology, as I've expressed to Melissa on many occasions. This is a couple of policies that I wanted to show you. It's just some examples. Obviously, there are more. There's a new policy 1.1.4 that explains how the Planning Commission is responsible for research and data collection and analysis related to the plan, and also how we're going to coordinate and share that data with other agencies. We also have a new policy 1.2.7 that deals with how we're going to identify and implement joint planning areas with our municipalities, Plant City, Tampa, and Temple Terrace, and also that we're going to look at similar issues and have discussions with the surrounding counties and also other municipalities that are abut the borders of our county. Also, we've added some policies related to the coordination of environmental and infrastructure planning. We've made some minor edits to the coordination efforts dealing with public education facilities, and in particular, we moved those to a more prominent location. They were almost like an afterthought in the current document, and we moved those up so they're a little bit more prominent in the section. We've updated policies associated with the coordination of planning activities from Hillsborough County and how they relate to the activities of the Planning Commission and also our Transportation Planning Organization. And here's a couple of examples of new policies that we're proposing. One is for the Board of County Commissioners to maintain their membership on Tampa Bay Water to ensure that we have safe and sustainable drinking water supplies. And also another new policy, 1.3.8, that deals with the consolidation of power, gas, water, and wastewater facilities within the same road right-of-ways to lessen the impacts on our environment. Other sections, we remove references to the Council of Governments, and this is primarily due to their infrequent meeting schedule, and many of their roles have been supplanted by other groups. We redefined policies related to the coordination of social services. They were using the limited scope of the term economically disadvantaged groups, and we are using the broader term underserved communities. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in a later slide. We also moved some policies from the economically disadvantaged groups element into this area to be sure that those topics are covered. We made some minimal edits to policies related to the coordination of public services and conflict resolution process. And probably the most substantive change that we made here is we developed a new objective and some supporting policies that promote sustainable and resilient communities in Hillsborough County. And we used several sources for this information. There was a draft element developed by the Department of Economic Opportunity, which was a source, and we also had some source material from the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. And this is the objective and the first two policies of 8 that are part of that section. And as I mentioned there, to promote sustainable and resilient communities, for Hillsborough County to join and participate in the Tampa Bay Regional Resiliency Coalition, and also for the Hillsborough County to complete and implement their Sustainability Action Plan, which is underway. We did have a workshop with the Board of County Commissioners on March 21st, and we did address all their comments. And I'll particularly note this is the changes that we've done since we had the briefing with you, and we highlighted those changes in the draft document with yellow highlight. But in general, what we did based on their comments is we listed some additional partner agencies in some of the policies, particularly the FDOT, HCC, and MacDill Air Force Base, which they felt needed to be brought to the forefront. It doesn't exclude any other groups participating, but they wanted to be sure that those were listed. I talked earlier about developing joint planning areas with the local municipalities. We originally had a 2025 implementation date to start those discussions. They felt that was too conservative and asked us to move that date up. So we moved that date, and we expect, if this is adopted, for them to begin those discussions before the end of this calendar year. They also asked us to add language that we would have similar discussions with the adjacent counties and municipalities that border Hillsborough County, and to basically allow staff to stagger those efforts. We have an implementation date of 2025 on that. They asked us about the definition for underserved communities and also where they're located, and the definition and where those are located are already in part of the mobility section, which I believe has just been adopted. So those are identified in that section, and we developed a cross-reference. And finally, they noted the work that they were doing on the Hillsborough County Sustainability Action Plan, and we noted that and for its future implementation. Now, there are a lot of goals, objectives, and policies that support these changes, and particularly I've highlighted the ones that were of the greatest importance, and they deal with objectives and policies in the future land use element, transportation element, the public schools element, recreation open space, and also, of course, the current intergovernmental coordination element. And we felt that all these policies are supportive of the changes that we are proposing. We did have several meetings with Hillsborough County staff to go over these and to come to a resolution on how they should be presented. We did get several comments, which are included in your packet, from outside agencies, which we believe we've addressed all of them. We had a virtual meeting for the public to give us input, and that was conducted on February 22nd. We, of course, I already mentioned the Board of County Commissioner workshop on the 21st and the changes that resulted. And of course, we're here this evening to get your recommendation. We have a Board of County Commissioners transmittal hearing scheduled for April 21st and a projected adoption date of June 16th at the moment. And with that, Planning Commission staff recommends that HCCPA 22-02 be found consistent with the Future of Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan for Unincorporated Hillsborough County, and to forward this recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. And Chairman, that concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you. I don't think we had anyone sign up for this one, so I will send it over to the Planning Commissioners for comments or discussion or questions. Yes, Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Hudson. There was a slide that I just had a question on, and it was, I don't know if you can bring it back up. One more, yeah, right here, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Right here?
No, go back, right here. So, nope.
Oh, was I in the right place?
You were in the right place.
Okay, here we go.
Yes, sir, right here. On the middle one there, the added requirement to initiate land use and infrastructure discussions with other cities and counties by 2025. I mean, you said that's going to get moved up to 2022.
No, originally we were proposing to have the city initiate discussions with the municipalities, Plant City, Temple Terrace, and Tampa, to develop those joint planning areas. And the Board of Commissioners says, well, we would like to be a bit more aggressive with that, and we would like to move that up, so which we have done. So now we have it being begun, that discussion began in late 2022. But the Board of County Commissioners also said, you know, there's a need, this wasn't part of the original policy, there's a need for us to also have similar land use and infrastructure discussions with the adjacent counties, you know, Manatee, Polk, Pasco, and Pinellas, and also any municipalities that tend to abut our jurisdictions, for example, the city of Lakeland. So we added that in there, and we gave that for them to initiate the discussions no later than 2025. Now, they can begin those earlier, but the thought was that their staff, who would be primarily responsible for working with our 3 municipalities, would first concentrate on those 3 internal municipalities and then shift their focus to these abutting jurisdictions. But that doesn't mean if they have the resources, they couldn't do all of them before 2025.
Sure, and I think that, you know, speaking with other municipalities and all that is great. I'm curious how that is going to impact, or how that might impact, you know, like future land use and development. You know, I mean, are we gonna start, you know, letting the city of Plant City know, or, you know, Manatee County, hey, we're thinking about doing, you know, this development down here. What do you think about this, you know? I mean, and is that going to start dragging things, you know, out? I mean, what's, you know, I could see that.
Well, I don't want to give the impression that none of those interactions are taking place today, because they are. You know, we have those discussions when something occurs near one of those municipal boundaries, for, in this case, a plan amendment. We notify those jurisdictions, and they have the opportunity to weigh in. But this does give the opportunity to make that more formalized, to make that more robust, to get into more, to drill down into more deeper issues and improve those coordination efforts. And there is a concern, particularly with the county, with some of these, with our municipalities expanding and growing, which the county is in support of, but they want to be sure that the facilities they are providing, particularly the transportation systems, are adequate to serve them. And they need to have that discussion with those municipalities at an early stage, not at a late stage.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions? Are there any more questions or comments from the commissioners? Nope, not seeing any at this time. I just wanted to tell you, you've done a great job on this, Mr. Hudson. You've been dealing with a lot of intergovernmental headache as of late, but you've taken it all in stride, and you've brought these things before us in a very succinct and organized fashion, and it's very much appreciated.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm just pleased that I'm not standing here by myself and that we're all together again.
All right. Seeing no more comments or discussion from the commissioners, I'll go ahead and close the public comment on this item and open it up to motions on this item from the commissioners. Yes, Commissioner Bernstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This time I would move that we find HCCPA 22-02 consistent with the goals, policies, objectives of the future Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, and that we pass that recommendation along to the Hillsborough County Board of Commissioners for consideration.
Second.
All right, we have a motion of consistency finding from Commissioner Bernstein, a second to that motion from Commissioner Powell. Is there any more discussion from the commissioners on this item? Not seeing any at this time. I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Cardenas?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes.
Lauk?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. All right. Thanks again, Mr. Hudson. And we will move on to our next item. It's 2C, HCCPA 22-03, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment. And the presenter is Jillian Massey.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. This is Jillian Massey with your Planning Commission staff. I'm just going to take a moment to share my screen. Okay, can everybody see my full presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. Again, hi, my name is Jillian Massey with the Planning Commission staff, and this evening I will be presenting on HCCPA 22-03, which is West Hillsborough Avenue and Racetrack Road. This is a site map of all of the January 2022 plan amendments for that cycle. 22-03 is located on the westernmost boundary of unincorporated county, again on West Hillsborough Avenue and east of Racetrack Road. Some background on this application. This is a privately initiated small-scale map amendment. There are 2 parcels involved that total approximately 7.99 acres. They're located in the urban service area and within the limits of the Northwest area and town and country community plans. Also, both of these parcels are located entirely in the coastal high hazard area. Here's an aerial of the 2 parcels in question this evening. The parcel to the west is classified currently as heavy industrial and has a storage building on it. And the parcel to the east is classified as vacant commercial land. The subject site is mainly surrounded by other commercial, light commercial and light industrial uses to the north, east, and west on that same side of West Hillsborough Avenue, as well as some agricultural, mobile home parks, other light commercial office buildings, and some single-family developments across West Hillsborough Avenue. This is the adopted future land use map for this area. As you can tell, the 2 parcels in question this evening have 2 different future land use designations. The parcel to the west is designated as regional mixed use 35, and the parcel to the east is designated as light industrial. As you can see here, there's light industrial surrounding the site on that side of West Hillsborough Avenue, and across West Hillsborough Avenue is designated mainly as office commercial 20. And along the outskirts of this corridor here is generally designated as residential 4. The proposed future land use designation for this application would be the residential 35. So the applicant is proposing to change the 2 parcels from regional mixed use 35 and light industrial to residential 35. Here's a photograph going down West Hillsborough Avenue, going east down the corridor facing north. As you can see here, where the arrow is pointed, the subject site is the wooded area that's behind the small commercial buildings. Over on the left side of the photo, there's other commercial uses such as a Lowe's and other retail establishments. This photo is just continuing to drive down West Hillsborough Avenue, going east, facing north. It's just a little bit closer. As you could tell, again, this is the parcel to the east of the 2 parcels, and this is heavily wooded at the moment, but it's adjacent to commercial buildings and other light industrial uses. This is just another photograph continuing to drive down West Hillsborough. As you could see, off to the left in the photo are some commercial buildings. And again, the wooded area that is one of the parcels in question here. This photo is looking across the street on West Hillsborough Avenue, so facing south. In this photograph is an office park and an industrial use. Also not shown in this photograph, as mentioned earlier, there is on this side of the street a mobile home park nearby. But this entire side of West Hillsborough Avenue is designated as office commercial 20. This table outlines the potential impacts of the proposed change from regional mixed use 35 and light industrial to residential 35. The proposed amendment would allow for an increase in residential density and a decrease in commercial intensity. So as you can see here in the table, it would allow for an increase from 120 dwelling units to a potential 279 dwelling units. And the non-residential development capacity would decrease from approximately 450,000 square feet to about 350,000 square feet. However, in this residential 35 category, it would be capped at 175,000 square feet. Planning Commission staff did a consistency review and found that this proposal is inconsistent with a number of policies in the comprehensive plan for unincorporated county. Some of those policies are relating to development in the urban service area. Due to these parcels' location in the coastal high hazard area, they would not be required to develop to the maximum density that's typically required. In the urban service area is where we like to gear development towards. Other policies that the proposal were found inconsistent were relating to Objective 10 and its associated 10.6, which talks about how bonuses, residential density bonuses in particular, would not be permitted in the coastal high hazard area due to their location and how they're vulnerable. Also found inconsistent would be the policies relating to neighborhood and community development and neighborhood protection policies as outlined in Objective 16. Due to the parcel's location on this corridor and the surrounding uses, Planning Commission felt that there wouldn't, the proposed residential use would not meet the policies requiring mitigation and buffering from surrounding noise and just the higher intensities of those surrounding uses. Furthermore, in the community design component, Goal 12 and Objective and its associated objective discusses compatibility. Planning Commission staff does not feel that this residential land use designation is compatible with the commercial and light industrial uses that surround it. In addition, there's economic development policies, particularly 26.5, excuse me, that talks about how non-industrial land uses shall be restricted or prohibited in the industrial land use categories. So in other words, a residential land use designation wouldn't be compatible in this area that's designated mainly as light industrial and office commercial. Finally, this proposal was found to be in conflict with the coastal management element and some of its associated policies, which talk about how any development in the coastal high hazard area would be required to do a planned development and a site plan review in which the applicant would have to provide adequate data to assess impacts of the proposed development upon existing infrastructure within the coastal high hazard area. A number of agency comments were reviewed or received with regards to this application. Some that were of note to mention here this evening was that the Hillsborough County noted that with regards to hazard mitigation, the proposed plan amendment has been found to be high risk based on the potential of 279 dwelling units in the coastal high hazard area. And there were some other informational comments received that are in your packet for your review. So with that, Planning Commission staff recommends that HC CPA 22-03 be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, and to forward that on to the Board of County Commissioners. And again, my name is Jillian Massey, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant have a presentation?
Yes, I do. This is Todd Pressman.
Hello, Mr. Pressman. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. And let me share. Okay. Mr. Chairman, can you see that, sir?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. We are very glad to be before you this evening. We thank Ms. Massey, who's made a nice presentation to you. This is HCCPA 22-03. We are located at the very extreme of Hillsborough County, literally right, virtually at the county line, next to the city of Oldsmar. This is a future land use amendment. Now, one thing that you have not heard from your staff is that a companion PD has already been filed for multifamily, which would comprise these two parcels at 7.99 acres. Today's issue is seeking Res 35. As shown previously, these are the two parcels by the property appraiser. You see we're right next door to a Publix and Lowe's super shopping center. Project is proposed at 256 units. We do have a commitment from the developer. The 6 units will be meeting the criteria and be offered as affordable housing units. This is some examples of the development that this developer has provided. It's a beautiful looking site. They're very involved and very successful with residential development, and they are looking forward to developing this site into a nice community. Now, most important, Mr. Chairman and board members, is a recent action by the Board of County Commissioners and primary direction, and that is the BOCC approved in 2018 RMU 35 for this site. Now, what we're seeking tonight is to revise that to Res 35, which is much more residentially oriented, and applying that to the budding parcel. Now, what you didn't hear from your staff, which is critical for any review and any consideration, any discussion, is the underlying approved zoning uses. On the one parcel was 179 hotel rooms. On the other parcel is approved for commercial and office at 35,000 square feet. And just a quick look, this is the site plan for the commercial and the retail. This is the commercial, or excuse me, for the hotel use, and this is for the commercial use. So these are site plans and PD plans that have been approved by the Board of County Commissioners. Now, what you also didn't hear from your staff is that there is a lot of residential in the immediate vicinity, and I'm showing you these parcels now. And these are very well established, very nice residential communities. Here's one element, which a final phase is to be completed. You can see the amount of residential in the area is pretty significant. And these are just about across the street, as I showed you from the site. Here's another view. These are big and massive changes. Hundreds of apartments have been built. Very nice, beautiful communities. This is the preserve. Switching gears in terms of available capacity for hurricane shelters, we did look closely at this to be sure that if there is an event, that the residents will be safe. In Pinellas County, we talked to Joe Barrios, who's the coordinator for Pinellas Emergency Management. They have a good capacity to A, B, and C level storms. In the Hillsborough capacity, we spoke with the officer involved with Human Services and Mass Safety, the management officer, who indicated that there is large capacity for the site in the shelters that would serve this site. And of course, the structures are going to be elevated and raised to the level necessary or required for a storm event. But we do want to emphasize, speaking with Hillsborough County, their Human Services and Emergency Management, that there is large capacity for shelters for the site. Now, looking at the Northwest Area Community Plan, that plan, which covers this area, is specifically allowing for the creation of compact mixed-use neighborhoods with economic vitality, mobility, connectivity, which will encourage a desired community plan, which we believe we meet that vision. Northwest Area Community Plan notes that the Northwest Regulating Plan, looking at Figure 4A, locates and defines each intended neighborhood. So when you look up Figure 4A, which you see here at the bottom corner, Site 4 is our site, you can see that it is a residential, planned, envisioned community and site. And this is a little bit closer view. This is the best we could do with the document. You see item 4 covers our area, and to the right is a residential community, which is exactly what we're planning. Now, we all know and like live, work, and play, and this is an exceptional live, work, and play site, because right next door is a super shopping center, which of course anchored by a Publix, which has just a wide variety of shopping, restaurants, and entertainment. Across the street as well is another large center, shopping and restaurants, and then I'm showing you again where the residential is. And there's just so many types of uses which would support a great live-work style, which would include employment opportunities. You can see the wide variety of just some of the businesses abutting the site. Planning Commission 24 vision conclusion is reduce the red tape, make it easier to build developments that allow walking between home, shopping, work, school, and entertainment. Northwest Community Plan, planning for a transit system that runs frequently, has comfortable waiting facilities, which we have, I'll show you that in a minute. Neighborhoods within which the activities of daily living should occur within walking distance, allowing independence to those who do not drive, especially the elderly and young, which this does beautifully. And walkable neighborhoods that define centers with edges allowing for home occupation and convenient transit. Tampa Tribune noting that after decades of promoting growth by encouraging filling in urban areas, building homes close to where people already work, shop, and play saves residents time and money. That's exactly what this site will do. There's also a possible future regional commuter rail line which runs to the rear of the site. And also on the right, you'll see that this area is a very intensive transit area. This is from the Northwest Hillsborough Transit Study of the Transit Department, and you'll see specifically 580 with a red arrow is a significant transit route, which refers back to the Northwest Community Plan and ties into their main transfer station at Town and Country. So that meets a lot of the criteria that's looked at for not only those plans, but I would submit to you that one of the policies the Board of County Commissioners have been supporting very strongly is putting density along along transit routes. That's where density belongs. They have access to transportation, and that's exactly what this site provides. This is Route 34 Hillsborough Avenue potential improvement, which they will be not only putting at a very high level now, but also will be improving into the future because it's a critical route. The Northwest Vision Plan, again, the creation of compact mixed neighborhoods with economic vitality, mobility, and connectivity will encourage a desired community plan. We believe that we meet that vision. When you look at the transportation element under your comp plan, policy 2.1.6, offer incentives for higher land use densities and intensities along transit, emphasis local service corridors, which is exactly, Mr. Chairman and board members, what I showed you. Under your transportation element, interestingly enough, when you look at your element for Hillsborough Avenue, they are specific to the Northwest Transit Center as being a critical transportation route, which is exactly what I showed you before, is a Northwest Transit Center that we tie into very, very specifically and with emphasis from HART. Looking at your housing chapter of your comp plan, goal 2 is to promote and insist on the provision of ample housing supply with a broad range of types and prices to meet current and projected housing needs. So this will be a site that will be providing a specific type of housing, as well as 6 units specifically designated for affordable housing under HUD standards. And objective 3.4 in your housing chapter, encourage redevelopment activities that do not displace the existing population. So in summary, Mr. Chairman and board members, I think it's absolutely critical and crucial to say to you While the planning staff gets it right most of the time, they have left out of their entire discussion, review, and consideration to recognize the existing approved commercial and hotel uses, which are a quasi-type residential use, in their review and consideration. We believe, with all due respect, that staff mischaracterizes the existing residential. I showed you there was significant and sprawling residential in the immediate area. You were not shown that by your staff. And we feel that they did not weigh the Northwest Community Plan, which clearly and distinctly and specifically shows residential at this exact site. We also feel the staff did not consider the ample shelter space for this site, which is very open. We feel the staff misjudged, with due respect, on the south, the OC 20, which contains a lot of residential, did not consider the transfer priorities of the commission and in your comp plan category, in your comp plan chapters. Staff did not consider many of the other comp plan policies in Northwest Community Plan direction. The changes approved for the hotel and commercial to residential oriented, that's the intent of the project and the companion PD. There's plenty, as I indicated, there's plenty of shelter space. It's a beautiful live, work, and play location. Emphasis has been put to put density on major transit routes, and emphasis has been made to put density within the USA, which we do. So with that, Mr. Chairman and board members, we're happy to answer any questions that you may have, and we're happy to have your consideration and your review this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pressman. All right, we did not have anyone sign up for the public comment on this item, so I will turn it right on over to our planning commissioners for questions or comments on this item. Not seeing, oh, Commissioner Powell, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to get understanding of the coastal high hazard. Has this property always been in the coastal high hazard, or due to like recent map updates, did the property become, into the coastal high hazard?
If you give me
Mr.
just,
Todd Pressman,
oh.
I'm sorry, go ahead. This is Todd Pressman. I'm not sure of the answer on that. I don't think I can provide an answer on that at the moment.
Okay.
I'm looking at the maps right now. It appears that it has been in the coastal high hazard area prior to the most recent change in August of this last year.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, if I may interrupt, Cammie is also working with me on this. If you could release her mute, so she would, by Cammie Corbett, if she could answer any questions as well, please.
Well,
I don't have anything to add right now. Thank you.
I was just curious, about the historical of the site within the coastal high hazard, because I'm actually really familiar with, like the area. I actually go out there quite a bit. I have some friends that live out there, and I actually go to the racetrack rather often to watch the races. And so I actually don't often probably agree with some of the things that Mr. Pressman brings before our board, but I actually think that this is one that he actually got right. I think that the site is great for what they're intending to do, especially with all of the major commercial that is right there, and given there's numerous apartment communities along Hillsborough Avenue there, and there's more than adequate road service for people to be able to get in and out should a major flood of some sorts all of a sudden come in. And people being able to leave. I recall maybe 2 years ago we had a similar development that came to us, but it was off the Crosstown Expressway. I don't know if everyone, maybe just, Commissioner Joseph was on the board at that time, and it was a similar development, and it ultimately failed because there was a concern about being in the coastal high hazard and ability for people to be able to exit the site. Should something, be coming. And while I didn't agree with what happened at that time, you bring those thoughts to this site, and I see that there is no problem because you've got, so many different avenues, and you've got a major road, that leads out to other areas. So, I actually think the site, is consistent. I don't know if you'll be able to convince some other people on this board, Mr. Pressman, but I actually agree with you on this one.
Good comments,
sir.
Commissioner Powell. Thank you. Oh, Commissioner Cardenas. I'll come back over here in a second.
Yeah, I guess I'm actually kind of torn on this one a little bit because I know that area pretty well, and there's a lot of residential around there, and it feels to a certain extent like it would make sense. But I think for me, the combination of trying to preserve our industrial land, I think, is something that we need to try to remember and consider. And the coastal high hazard thing is also something that I think we need to try to consider, especially considering, you know, this would be a new development. We've got a lot of new people coming to town. And it, you know, every time we have one of these situations where we have a hurricane or we have the potential of one, it just seems like the less time you've been in Florida, the more you're trying to run. And then the longer you've been in Florida, the more you're like, oh, this isn't even coming. So awkwardly, that just kind of sits, that just kind of popped in my head. But, you know, at the same time, it's kind of, you know, shortly around when we started talking about needing industrial land is where I awkwardly started noticing more trucks being parked on the side of the road, or more activity happening in our area, having more clients coming to the area that worked in more industrial types of, you know, business. So, you know, that conversation keeps on turning in my head. So I think that's something that we should definitely keep in mind.
Good points, Commissioner Cardenas. Let me go down to Commissioner Fernandez, and I'll come back up to Lauk and then to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, you know, we're having a housing shortage, right? The rents are going through the roof in the Bay Area. I do think this is a good location. There is a lot of transit here. It is walkable to a Publix, although, Mr. Pressman, you got to check your map. You labeled Lowe's as Publix, but it is only a 9-minute walk to a Publix, and that's important for an apartment complex. I do think, though, a higher percentage of affordable homes would be nice, not just 2%, especially if we're talking about the transit line being utilized. So that's, I just think it's makes sense for the area right now.
Thank you, Commissioner Fernandez. Commissioner Lauk?
Yes, thank you. Quick question for staff. Jillian, great job putting that together. When we look at the area, applicant raises a point about adjoining or at least nearby a residential. Could you speak to that a little bit, what your thoughts are, and if those residential developments are applicable here? Do they make sense? And then specific to Commissioner Cardenas's comments on industrial use, are there any other industrial zoned properties in this area? I didn't see any when we were really looking at it, and it looks almost as if it's an industrial zone parcel in an oasis of commercial and residential.
When we did our review, we looked at the properties immediately surrounding, which there is residential development, as Mr. Pressman noted, across the street in various areas along West Hillsborough Avenue. I don't know how they apply to this case here, especially since on that side of West Hillsborough Avenue, it is designated as light industrial for quite a while. I don't know as far as industrial zoned properties, if it's majority maybe commercially. I'm not really sure. I'd have to look into it further. But we just mainly felt that due to the designation surrounding the site and the existing commercial uses, there is some light industrial uses surrounding on that side of West Hillsborough Avenue. We just felt that the higher density residential was not compatible.
If I could just add in, I took a look at our plan amendment database, and those residential, those areas have had those residential plan categories since, at the very least, the early 2000s, when we started keeping track of the plan amendments electronically. So I think a number of them just are, predate some of the policies in the comprehensive plan related to the coastal high hazard area, the importance of protecting the evacuation and shelter capacity and making sure that people are out of harm's way. One other point of clarification I just wanted to make is that I looked up on Heart Systems map, and there is a PSTA express route to the transit center on Sheldon, but that is the only transit available in the area. And some of the maps that Mr. Pressman showed, I wholeheartedly support those transit visions, but they are a vision. So just wanted to make that clarification.
Thank you, Ms. Sornita. Yes, Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to respond really quickly to what Commissioner Cardenas had brought up about, the industrial. I agree that we have to, preserve industrial. However, the county really isn't low on industrial properties and sites. The city of Tampa has, is woefully underrepresented there. So, I definitely agree with that. I don't know, of course, all of the history of when the certain industrial has been, in that area. There's, I believe there's a self-storage facility, that's over there, which, often has, light industrial categories for obvious reasons, which is really needed given the amount of homes, that's over there. But I think that as from a pure industrial site, I don't think that that location is really a great location for, industrial and having trucks and, things like that coming in, because you're actually quite far from 275 and the veterans and, like the airport. And so I don't think that, I don't know why, the industrial that is there, how that happened, but I don't think for the future of where we're going with industrial that, that specific, location is really, right for it, but it's there and you just have to deal with it. So I just wanted to touch on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Are there any, for my own part, I grew up in this area and that's my stomping ground. So I used to go there for things other than the racetrack. In fact, one of Tampa's best hand-rolled cigar spots is right down the street from this site right there. It seems crazy to me to try and put apartments there. It doesn't make much sense for a lot of the reasons Commissioner Powell just mentioned. The site is so far from a lot of the things that most people want to go to. If you live in a bedroom community and you have the income, then yes, you can take advantage of all these little things that are around the area. But if we start to talk about low income and people of lesser means, if you stick them out there in a place like that, it's not going to work well. So I don't know. It seems a little weird to me. But that's just my 2 cents. So, any more from the commissioners? Please, any more comments? Yes, Commissioner Bernstein.
Just briefly, I think, as we heard from our executive director, the coastal high hazard category hasn't always been around, but it is now, and we either take it seriously, this is my own personal view, or we disregard it. While it's there, I think we need to take it seriously and to suggest that it's a viable solution to send those folks over to a hurricane shelter that's within shooting distance doesn't strike me as a viable alternative. So I'm opposed to it for that reason alone, not to mention a number of other concerns I personally have with it. But I just want to reiterate that, we've had a lot of healthy debate in front of this body on the impact of coastal high hazard areas with regard to proposals that frankly were far less impactful than what this appears to be.
Thank you, Commissioner Bernstein. Are there any more comments or discussion of this item? Any more questions from any of the commissioners? Not seeing any at this time, not seeing anyone on the WebEx, going once, going twice. I'll close the public comment on this item and open it up.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a couple comments? If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, sure. Keep them brief.
Real brief. I would submit to you that the site is too small for industrial. Industrial requires significant room. One of the board members was talking about just trucks alone. The second site, which is still I could not accommodate that. Downtown Oldsmar is doing very well. There's a 12-screen AMC theater. There's all kinds of restaurants and public space and open space, literally just a stone's throw over in Oldsmar, plus the Oldsmar Flea Market. So there are plenty of activities and plenty of entertainment and shopping as a community itself. So we appreciate your consideration and appreciate your thoughts. Obviously looked at very closely. We again appreciate Ms. Massey's report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pressman, and thank you for keeping it brief. Good comments, good points. All right, so with that, public comments closed. I will open it up to the commissioners to entertain motions on this item. Commissioner Cardenas.
Yeah, I motion that we find HCCPA 2203 non-consistent with the plan.
All right, we have an inconsistency motion from Commissioner Cardenas. This is Commissioner Bernstein. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll second Commissioner Cardenas's motion.
All right, we have an inconsistency motion from Commissioner Cardenas, a second to that motion by Commissioner Bernstein. Is there any more discussion from the commissioners at this point in time? Seeing none, I will go ahead and ask the clerk to do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Cardenas?
Yes.
Fernandez?
No.
Kress?
Yes.
Lauk?
No.
Powell?
No.
Joseph?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 4-3 with Commissioners Fernandez, Lauk, and Powell voting no.
Thank you. All right, thank you for the information and thank the applicant for being here in their time. We'll move on to our next item. It is item 1D, HCCPA 22-04 Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, Causeway Boulevard and South 90th Street, and the presenter is Andrea Papandrew.
Good evening, Commissioners. Andrea Papandrew with your Planning Commission staff. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Commissioners, are you able to see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Again, Andrea Papandrew with Planning Commission staff presenting HCCPA 22-04 Causeway Boulevard and South 90th Street. This is a privately initiated small-scale map amendment. The site is approximately 5.26 acres, and the request is to go from the community mixed-use 12 to the residential 20 future land use designation. The site is located in the middle of the county, in the Tampa Urban Service Area and the Greater Plum River Community Plan. This is an aerial of the subject site and the surrounding area. The site is south of Causeway Boulevard, east of South 90th Street, and west of US Highway 301. So looking south on Causeway Boulevard, this is the subject site. It is currently vacant. And there is an approved PD on the site from 2017 for 38 mobile homes and 57,400 square feet of commercial general uses. This is looking east down Causeway Boulevard towards US Highway 301. Properties immediately to the east of the site are vacant and multifamily. Further northeast on Causeway Boulevard are vacant public utilities and light industrial land uses. This is looking north of the subject site on Causeway Boulevard. Currently, the existing land uses are single family and vacant. There is an approved 2019 PD for manufacturing, industrial, office, and retail uses. And this is looking west of the subject site on Causeway Boulevard. Immediately to the west are single-family residential, vacant, and the Causeway Park. So the adopted future land use category for the subject site is Community Mixed Use 12. Community Mixed Use 12 surrounds the site on the east, west, and south. North across Causeway Boulevard is the Residential 9 and Urban Mixed Use 20 future land use categories. And Residential 20 and Urban Mixed Use 20 are other future land use categories in the immediate surrounding area. The proposal before you today is to go to the residential 20 future land use designation. So the existing community mixed use 12 designation would allow up to 63 units and a 0.50 FAR, approximately 115,000 square feet. Moving to the potential residential 20 designation would increase the density to 105 units, increase the intensity to a 0.75 FAR, approximately 172,000 square feet. And for that 0.75 FAR, anything over a 0.35 must be for office or residential support uses and not retail. And if approved, this plan amendment would permit neighborhood commercial land uses, and the light industrial, research corporate park, and community scale retail commercial uses would no longer be permitted. So Planning Commission staff did not receive any objections from reviewing agencies. The site is consistent with the comprehensive plan and policies directing growth to the urban service area and neighborhood protection and compatibility policies in the future land use element. Specifically policy 16.2, which requires gradual transitions of intensities between different land uses using professional site planning, buffering and screening techniques, and the control of specific land uses. The site is in a location consistent with the intent of the residential 20 designation. Site is also consistent with the Greater Palm River Community Plan. The plan encourages new infill and redevelopment to be compatible with existing community. Surrounding land uses and zoning districts would be compatible with the requested plan amendment change to residential 20. Strategy 14 specifically addresses supporting the scenic corridor designation of Causeway Boulevard and does not recommend allowing commercial intensive uses east of Maydell Drive. Subject site is east of Maydell Drive, and the change in land use to residential 20 would no longer permit the uses allowed in the commercial intensive zoning district. Based on this, Planning Commission staff recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for Unincorporated Hillsborough County. That concludes my presentation for HCCPA 22-04. I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you. Was there a presentation from the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Todd Pressman again.
Hello, Mr. Pressman. Yes, please go ahead.
Sharing screen. Okay, there we go. Okay, you can hear me, you can see that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Pampajou, for your report. This is CPA 22-04, existing future land use category is CMU 12, proposed at Res 20. Planning Commission staff recommends support, as you've heard. We're located on Causeway Boulevard to the west of I-75. This is a overview of the site as it exists. Future land use element, 5.26 acres. We are in the urban service area. Staff recommendation does note community scale retail commercial would no longer be permitted on the site. Commercial intensive uses will no longer be permitted. Res 20 only allows neighborhood commercial uses. So I think it's fair to think of this as a sort of coming down from what the site was at before. This is the future land use map. I think what's important is that there is a lot of Res 20 in the immediate area and UMU 20 in the immediate area as well. So there's a lot of intensity that pretty much is located around the site. When you zoom back out, you can see that there's even more. There's RMU 35, OC 20, Res 20, UMU 20. So we would submit that what we're asking for is, as the staff has found, is consistent and is compatible with the surrounding future land use categories. What's currently permitted now under zoning is a 57,400 square foot for hotel, medical, office, and retail. That's been on the books for quite a long time. This is a site plan, simple site plan that's included with the approval. Today's application goal is a 108 multifamily development, which would be a nice small community in the area. There is demand for this type of use. There's been a significant increase in commercial activity and employment. The areas have been designated as a redevelopment area and incentive area over the many years, and that has worked very well. One element which would be nice is to provide housing for those workers and people who would enjoy the activities in the area. Units will meet the HUD workforce criteria. That's the level that's targeted for the units at the site. Directly across the street is a 1,807,000 square foot mixed use consisting of manufacturing, processing, distribution, commercial, office, retail, hotel. So it'll be a major employment factor for directly across the street and for, again, people to enjoy some of those activities. So it's a use that will fit in very well economically. Staff recommendation is the location is consistent with the intent of the land use designation, is compatible with the requested land use amendment. Given the overall development pattern of the area, the proposed site would serve as a logical extension and would be consistent with development pattern in the area. And again, we are located within the USA. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Pressman. All right, we didn't have anyone from the public sign up for public comment on this item, so I'll turn it over to the commissioners for comments, questions, or discussion on this item at this time. Not seeing any lights in the room or any hands online going once, going twice. I'll close public comment and open it up to the commissioners for motions on this item. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we find CPA 20-04 consistent with the future of Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan and forward this recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners.
All right, we have a motion of consistency finding. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Powell, a second to that motion by Commissioner Fernandez. Is there any more discussion from the commissioners on this item? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote of this item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Cardenas?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes?
Lauk?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 7-0.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board.
All right. On to our last item is 1E, HCCPA 22-05, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, Morris Bridge Road and 127th Avenue, and the presenter is Ms. Carla Llanos.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Carla Llanos. I'm with the Planning Commission staff. This is a privately initiated small-scale comprehensive plan amendment 22-05, Morris Bridge Road and 127th Avenue in the unincorporated Hillsborough County. This subject site is 39.6 acres within the limits of the Tonotosasa Community Plan. It is located within the urban service area and is north. It's the northmost plan amendment for the January 2022 cycle. Subject property is being designated from Community Mixed Use 12 to Residential 20 and Natural Preservation. The applicant has provided a narrative to accompany this plan amendment request. The applicant states that the intent is to develop the uplands portion with multifamily and to preserve the wetlands and habitat through the Natural Preservation Future Land Use Designation. The property borders the City of Temple Terrace jurisdiction and is located west of Interstate 75 and Morris Bridge Road. It is also found north of Fowler Road and abutting 127th Avenue to the north and to the south. According to the Hillsborough County property appraiser, the parcel is currently vacant and the surrounding area contains mostly single-family homes, multifamily, light commercial, major highway, public utilities, agriculture, and a few vacant lands. Staff conducted a site visit on February 10th, 2022, and the following pictures were taken. This picture that you see on the screen is taken standing between the applicant's north parcel and the south parcel, facing north, looking west on 127th Avenue. Here we are in the same location as the previous picture, except that we are now looking towards the east on 127th Avenue, and you can see in this area right here, Morris Bridge Road and Interstate 75. This picture is taken facing southeast towards the applicant's south parcel, and it abuts Morris Bridge Road and I-75, and we can see that the top of I-75 along here. On your screen, you will find an aerial shot of the property. The purpose is to kind of give you an idea of what the site looks like from above and the surrounding uses. So to the north, we have multifamily and commercial. To the northwest, we have single family. To the west, we have an easement. To the south, we have a creek called Cow House Creek, and we have some single family homes. And then to the southeast, we have multifamily. And then northeast, east, and southwest, we have Morris Bridge Road and I-75. The property has an adopted future land use designation of Community Mixed Use 12 and is proposing to go again to the Natural Preservation and Residential 20 future land use. Residential 20 allows residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed-use developments. The adopted Community Mixed Use 12 and the proposed Residential 20 will allow for the same type of uses. The proposed natural preservation, however, allows for open space or passive nature parks. The area is composed of a variety of different future land use designations. Immediately to the west is the Community Mixed Use 12. To the east is the northeast. To the east and the northeast is Suburban Mixed Use 6. To the southeast is public, quasi-public, future land use designations. And the property abuts the city of Temple Terrace to the north and to the south. So to the north is the urban mixed use 20. To the south is the residential 9. And to the southwest is residential 18. The subject site, again, is 39.6 acres. There are a lot of wetlands on the property, and the property will be evaluated in detail at the rezoning stage. Property has an existing future land use, again, of Community Mixed Use 12, which allows a density of 12 dwelling units an acre, or a floor area ratio of 0.50. This would allow for a maximum of 475 dwelling units, or approximately 860,000 roughly square feet of non-residential. There is a potential for less due to the wetlands on the site. Now, the proposed future land use of residential 20 will occur only on 18.12 acres. The rest of the property will be designated as natural preservation. This would allow for a maximum of 362 dwelling units or approximately 600,000 square feet of non-residential. Natural preservation does not allow for density or intensity. Overall, the request will reduce intensity and density as well as it removes the ability to provide for commercial intensive uses. Staff has reviewed and has found the request consistent with the comprehensive plan policies. Objective 1 directs at least 80% of the growth to happen within the urban service area. The property is located in the Tampa service area, which is considered a urban service area. Objective 2 and policy 2.1 refers to the timing of growth and encourages new development to occur in areas that have adequate public infrastructure capacity and to discourage the opportunities for bypassing urban development. This property is located again within the urban service area. Other jurisdictions and reviewing agencies have been notified of this request and they do not have any concerns regarding this amendment at this stage of the process. Objective 13, policy 13.1 and policy 13.3 indicate that new development shall not adversely impact environmentally sensitive areas. The property does have a significant amount of wetlands and has a potential for upland preservation. However, these calculations will be evaluated during the rezoning stage. The request is consistent with Objective 16, Policy 16.1 through 16.5, which is the need to protect existing neighborhoods and communities. The request does protect existing neighborhoods by providing natural preservation future land use designation nearest to the single family to the south, and is proposing similar residential, very similar to the other residential in the area. So overall, the requested map amendment is consistent with the goals, policy, and objectives of the comprehensive plan. Planning staff recommends that HCCPA 2022-05 be found consistent with the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan policies. This plan amendment will be forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners public hearing on April 22nd, 2022, and I will be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Does the applicant have any presentation for this one?
Good evening, Commissioners. Kami Corbett with the law firm of Hill, Ward, and Henderson here representing the applicant. I do have a very brief presentation. I do want to thank Carla for all of her help with this amendment. This is our first plan amendment. We've worked together and she's been very helpful and a real pleasure to work with. And I thank her for her thorough presentation. But as I said, I do want to provide you just a brief presentation to give you some background on this property since it's a little bit unusual. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Are you able to see and able to hear?
Yes.
Okay. The applicant is Progressive Capital Group. This is another aerial of the site. The history of the site is it was historically under private ownership and it was acquired by FDOT in late 2006. And it was acquired for right-of-way and drainage and also a staging area for the construction of 127th Avenue, which you can see from Carla's pictures is a relatively newly improved road. Those improvements were completed in 2014, and FDOT made a determination that the property is no longer needed, and the sale to the current owner happened in 2020, and my client is the contract purchaser. So historically, here's the aerial from 2009, and you can see the site was not bifurcated by a north parcel and a south parcel. It was all one parcel, and you can see that the newer improvements to 127th Avenue were not there. Then you can see by 2012, the site was disturbed for that staging, and you could see the commencement of the 127th Avenue improvements. And then by 2016, you can see the completed improvements where you have this upland, disturbed upland area that was created by the FDOT activity, and then also the FDOT stormwater pond in this location. And then again, this is a current aerial, and you can see in 2016, those apartments were to the north were just starting to get under construction. And in 2022, today, you can see that those are constructed and see the current condition. Again, the existing land use categories, including both Temple Terrace and Hillsborough County. We are surrounded by CMU 12 to the west, and then UMU 20, which is a probably a more intense category than Res 20, but from a residential density perspective, it's similar. And we are proposing the plan amendment to Res 20 only for the majority of the upland parcels that are necessary to develop the site, and did voluntarily offer to preserve the rest as nature preservation in a manner that's consistent with what you can see happening to the east in the environmentally sensitive land areas. Just wanted to point you to some key staff findings. Overall, it's compatible and consistent with the comprehensive plan. At Res 20, we're maintaining a medium-high density category within the urban service area. And then that natural preservation category provides an ideal transition. There is sufficient transportation and infrastructure capacity for the amendment. The plan amendment actually results in a trip reduction of 4,114 trips, and that's not just from our transportation staff, that is from the county's transportation staff as well. Urban services, water and potable water, water and wastewater will be provided by Temple Terrace, and we do have school capacity available. And with that, I'm here to answer any questions, as is Dallas Evans, who are project engineer, and we would respectfully request your finding of consistency this evening.
Thank you. All right, we did have a couple people sign up for comment on this one. I think, Ms. Corbett, you are one of them, so I'm assuming you don't want to speak on the public comment. And I will move on to Sam Morton. Is Sam Morton on the line?
Sam is not on.
Alrighty, that was all we had sign up for public comment at this time. So I will turn it over to the commissioners for any questions or discussion that they may have. Commissioner Fernandez, whoa. Tom, I think the BLCC wants us out of here. There, oh, one more time. What have you got, a hamster? I think it's a hamster on a wheel somewhere. We gotta get him going. I mean, I can see everybody. HTV, what's your view of things? Okay, all right. Yeah, Commissioner Fernandez. Go ahead.
I was curious if the property was being considered for annexation at the Temple Terrace, since it's pretty much surrounded on all sides and going to be using the utilities.
That is a good question. If you would like me to answer it.
Sure.
We actually approached the city of Temple Terrace to conduct the annexation. And that's where our first approach was, because we did know that they have a policy that if we're adjacent, that we need to connect to water and sewer. The staff raised concerns about creating an enclave in this particular area. And so it was agreed that we would move forward with the Hillsborough County land use designation. And honestly, the designation and splitting the parcels into two separate designations, I think will help facilitate that and resolve that enclave issue. And so we would understand and appreciate in the future, if we're going to go forward with the Temple Terrace utilities, that future annexation may also be something that we would explore. We're not opposed to it. We actually started down that path and ended up going down this path because of enclave issues raised by the city.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any more questions or discussions, comments from the commissioners? Not seeing any lights in the room or anyone on the WebEx. Oh, yeah. No pun intended. We'll go ahead and close public comment at this time and open it up to motions from the commissioners on this item. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we find CPA 22-05 consistent with the future Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan, and for this recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners.
All right, a motion of consistency finding from Commissioner Powell.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Fernandez. Is there any discussion from the commissioners of this item before we vote? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Cardenas?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes.
Lauk?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you to the applicant. Thank you, Ms. Llanos, for the information. Thank everybody on the line for their time. That is our last item. So with that, this meeting is adjourned. Everyone have a good evening.